welcome to Solo Playthroughs. We're going back to Sentinels of the Multiverse because I got three more of these freaking villains to go through in this enhanced edition box, and we best get to it. And again, I'm going to get through these four villains and then jump into Street Masters. It's very similar mechanics, but gives you a board theme I like a little bit more, but I do enjoy the puzzle that comes from Sentinels of the Multiverse. Now, Omnitron is the other villain in the base box of the enhanced edition that is supposed to be a difficulty level 1. Wow. I don't know about that, man. Omnitron's got some really sick cards. You are very dependent on the order that the cards come out of that villain deck and whether or not you have the powers in play that you can deal with it. Plus, Omnitron will often mess with your powers, mess with your ongoing cards. So there's a timing issue that does come out. Additionally, I randomized the location and we are in Atlantis, and wow, those cards can make a big difference as well. Now, I did try this 3 times with a randomized selection of heroes. I had Bunker, I had Haka, and I had Tempest, and woo, that did not work. That was not a great combo. Tempest had some good cards that, if I had them at the right time, could have made a bigger difference, but I just was getting them at the wrong time. And Bunker and Haka, I'm not sure how to say that. I'm sure I'm going to butcher it. I'll probably say it both ways over the course of the video just to cover my bases, folks. Well, Bunker and Haka both take some setup, so that was kind of problematic. Now, I do want to mention that I have reached out to Jared for 3-minute board games to get a little confirmation of this. I know there were some issues with the representation of Haka. None of it comes from a malicious place, so I don't want to not feature Haka. He's a very cool character. There's just some issues with some awkwardness with his backstory, and it just comes from a place of just not totally understanding Maori culture. And it is pronounced Maori. Jared was kind enough to let me know that going in, so I don't sound like a complete ignoramus in discussing the Maori culture and Aka. So I'm not going to make any representations about the Maori, who they really are. I don't know much about Maori culture, so I'm definitely not an expert. So anything I say about Maori culture and Aka is just going to be what we have in the flavor text here in the game. Speaking of that, let's find out who are these crazy cast of characters that are in front of us today. I'm going to try to find the villain descriptions first. Here we go. Omnitron, the XK9000 Alpha, invented as part of a mechanization think tank at the renowned robotics corporation Aldred Industries, was originally constructed and programmed to be a fully automated defense technologies factory which would autonomously design and fabricate military-grade robots. Its purpose was to receive and parse defense contracts and formulate an optimal robotic solution. However, following its initial power-up sequence, the robotics factory quickly upgraded itself, gaining a form of sentience and determining that the surest way to preemptively solve any potential defense contracts was to root out the source of the problem, the human race. Designated itself Omnitron, the factory converted itself into a mobile attack unit and began laying waste to the nearest population and technology centers. Well, that's cheerful. All right. Dystopian universe, here we come. And somehow we're going to be in Atlantis because that makes sense. It's all good, people. Just go with it. The hero bio of Legacy. So Legacy is kind of the face of this game in a lot of ways. Again, his nemesis would have been Baron Blade. We will not have to deal with Nemesis today at all either. Absolute Zero would have been the Nemesis for Omnitron had I randomly selected him, but I did not, so we don't have to deal with the Nemesis rules. Again, they're cool, but this adds a little bit more overhead onto a game that already has a lot of mental overhead, especially when you're controlling 3 characters the way you have to. So, Legacy, what's he about? The Parsons family itself represents one of the most enduring traditions the United States has to offer. The British, they have the monarchy. Americans, they have legacy. Ever since Joseph Parsons spotted British soldiers on the Charles River, making possible Paul Revere's famous ride, the Parsons family has been protecting the United States from threats both near and far. Joseph Parsons himself had limited powers, only able to sense imminent danger, but each generation of Parsons has inherited old powers and developed new. First, danger sense, later, superhuman strength, eventually flight, and so on and so forth. Today, Paul Parsons the Eighth is Legacy, the founding member of the Freedom Five, and just as every Parsons before him, he continues to fight the forces of evil in the name of liberty and of the common man. Dun dun dun! Haka! So, the fearsome Ayata Wakawerwa was chief of his tribe, or Hapu, for many years. One fateful day, his facial tattoos mysteriously vanished, which the Hapu believed a sign of the god's displeasure. Ayata's right-hand man, Ruru, stepped up to challenge him. He outwitted Ayata in battle and dealt him a killing blow. Ruru slit the throat of the larger man and left the Ayata's remains to the dogs. However, at dawn, Ayata reappeared at the edge of the village, calling for the new chief to come and face him. Killing Ruru in battle, Ayata was shocked to see that rather than honor his legacy, his people cursed him, stripping him of his name. Exiled, he spent decades wandering and fighting, growing stronger with each wound. He took the name Haka after the Maori war dance. Now he fights for redemption, carrying his people's traditions proudly. And finally, we have Ra. Dr. Blake Washington Jr. was one of the best archaeologists in the world. Finding a previously undiscovered tomb in Egypt should have been merely another point on an already impressive resume. However, all his findings were surpassed when he found a secret chamber within the pyramid. Eluding traps and solving ancient puzzles, he eventually discovered the pyramid's true purpose. It was the final resting place of generations of heroes, all of whom had fought under the guise of Ra, the mighty god of the sun. Feeling himself drawn to a wooden staff within the chamber, he drew it from the ground and was overwhelmed as the secrets of the universe flooded his mind and body. No longer a mere man, he was now the next Ra. Sealing the chamber to hide its secret yet again, Ra stepped forth to combat the forces of evil. Cool. I'm going to put the little turn order chart up here, and then we're going to have to shuffle all these decks. Again, each hero deck contains 40 cards. The character card of the hero has a special power. Legacy's power is Galvanize. Until the start of your next turn, increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. Legacy has 32 hit points to start the game. Haka, the Savage Haka. His special power is Crush. Haka deals 1 target 2 melee damage. And then Ra is the mighty Ra, god of the sun. He has 30 hit points. I did fail to mention Haka has 34 hit points, so obviously a little bit more of a tank than the others. Now, Ra's special power is Pyre. Ra deals 1 target 2 fire damage. Omnitron, like all villains, will have 2 sides, and he has 2 character cards. He has an interesting mechanic that on each turn, we will go ahead and flip his character cards, and they will behave differently. I will be playing this on the advanced rules. The one side of the advanced rules says that any damage I do to devices is going to be reduced by 1. The other side said that any damage done by devices will be increased by 1. So you're going to want to need to pay attention to that. Plus, Omnitron himself is a device, so that does include any power cards from the villain deck that have Omnitron himself doing damage. The area of Atlantis has a lot of interesting cards. There are several cards that have 15 strength, but again, environment cards will often do damage to villain cards as much as to hero cards. So we are going to want to manipulate the game state to our advantage to take advantage of the extra damage that Atlantis can do Omnitron, if at all possible. So I'll put that up there, and this will just come off to the side, leaving me maximum room for all the goodness that I'm going to need. So let's look at this. So Omnitron, self-aware robotics factory. Setup. At the start of the game, put Omnitron's villain character cards into play. Self-aware robotics factory side up. So that is done for setup. Omnitron has 100 health. Unlike Baron Blade, who had a certain amount of health, and you had to flip him, and then he got 30 health back, and you blah, 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 blah. Omnitron is 100 health. You need to do 100 damage to him, and once that's done, he is defeated. However, any additional devices or drones that might still be in play will also need to be defeated if the heroes are to claim a win. So we have the villain deck here. Remember, there's 25 cards in there. We have 15 cards in the environment deck, 40 cards in each of the heroes' decks. So cards everywhere. I do need to draw 4 cards from each hero deck. So Legacy starting hand is Motivational Charge. Again, it's an ongoing limited card, so I can only have one of these in play at a time. There's a power on there. It says Legacy deals 1 target 2 melee damage. Each target can regain 1 health. Huge. We have Bolster Allies, 1 shot. Each player can draw a card. We have Lead from the front. Ongoing limited. Whenever a hero target would be dealt damage by a villain card, you may redirect that damage to Legacy. And then finally, we have Danger Sense. Ongoing Legacy is immune to damage from environment cards. Now, I am probably not going to do much reading of the flavor text at the bottom of these cards. I just found it a little much in the first video, but some of it's very funny, and I would recommend taking the moment to read it yourselves at your leisure. So, assuming you have this game, obviously, or maybe buy the enhanced edition because it's not that expensive, and you can just sit at home on a cold winter's night, drinking some cocoa and reading some comic book bubbles because that'll be fun. Haka, what does he get? Well, he has elbow smash. He can elbow a dude in the bear costume in the gut for 3 damage because clearly that's what he would want to do. Now, that is a one shot like this. Again, one shots are played and then put in the respective hero's trash, unlike ongoing cards and equipment cards, which will stay out front in the hero's play area. We have another elbow smash, so you can do a 1-2 to that same bear dude, but again, we only have ability to play one card a turn, so I guess we can't. We'll have to elbow him, and the next turn elbow him again, because dudes in bear costumes are relentless. That's how it works. Ooh, we have a Maori word, I'm guessing. It is ta-aha, which I'm sure I butchered. Anyone who wants to give me pronunciation guides in the comments, please do. This is an equipment card. If it is out, it will give us another power to choose from that's separate from the power that's on our character card. This power says that Haka can deal up to 2 targets 3 melee damage each. And finally, we have Vitality Surge. It's a one-shot card. Haka regains 2 hit points and he can draw a card. Ra's starting hand is Living Conflagration. Ongoing, when this card enters play, Ra deals 1 target 2 fire damage, and in addition to dealing that fire damage, there's a power on there. Ra can deal 1 target 1 fire damage, and he can draw a card. We have Flesh of the Sun God. Ra is immune to fire damage. Not exactly going to be that helpful against Omnitron. However, there is a power on there. Hero character cards are immune to fire damage until the start of your next turn. We have the other Flesh of the Sun God. I say the other is actually 3 or 4 of each card in these decks. And we have Summon Staff. That's what I want to see. Search your deck for the Staff of Ra and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck. You may draw a card. You may play another card as well. There are 4 staffs in Ra's deck. They are really important to get, and you will see why as we go. So let's go to Omnitron's turn. Again, every round starts with a villain turn, then hero turns, and then the environment turn. Hero turns will go left to right. I do have these heroes set out in the order that I randomly chose them. It actually worked out fairly well. Having Legacy go first will make some of the upkeep a little bit easier, and I kind of like how that played out. So we have Omnitron's card, Gameplay. At the start of the villain turn, so this includes in turn 1, we're going to flip Omnitron's villain character cards, and this can only happen once a turn. So I'm not even going to read the rest of that until we come back to this on the second turn. So we flip this character card, we flip this character card. So we went from the self-aware robotics factory to now the rampaging robot. Dun, dun, dun. Still has 100 health. It is still a device. Now, what does this say? It says the same thing. At the start of the villain turn, flip Omnitron's villain character cards, but only happens once a turn, so we can ignore that. Now we go to the next thing. At the end of the villain turn, play the top card of the villain deck. When Omnitron is destroyed, remove Omnitron's villain character cards from play. The heroes cannot win until there are no devices in play. Omnitron's a device. He also has a bunch of little minions that are also devices. Advanced rules reduce damage dealt to devices by 1. That will only be in play when the rampaging robot side is phase up. So we're going to go to the play phase. We draw a card. It is a technological singularity. Destroy all equipment cards. Omnitron deals each hero character card 2 lightning damage for each equipment card belonging to that hero destroyed this way. We have no equipment cards in play, so we got lucky. No damage to us. That's nice. And then at the end of the turn, we're going to have to play another card. It is a S-83 assault drone. It has 4 health. It is a device. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest hit points X melee damage, where X is the number of drones in play plus 1. So that will go in play there. Now I'm going to use the -1 damage taken and the +1 damage dealt to continue to remind me what's going on with what side Omnitron we're on. So it's going to be -1 damage taken for this turn. We'll put that out. And now that was an end of turn effect. And now we continue to move forward. And we're going to actually have to do this end of turn effect. And the target with the highest hit points, which is Haka, is going to take X melee damage, which is the number of drones, which is 1, +1, so we have 2 damage to Haka. Now, Omnitron is a device. He is not a drone, so it is only 2. It is not 3. Now we're going to go to Legacy's turn. What do you say, Legacy? Legacy is going to play the Bolster Allies. Every player is going to draw a card, including Legacy. So he draws Superhuman Durability. Whenever Legacy would be dealt 5 or more damage from a single source, reduce that damage by 3. Don't hate that. Haka gets the Savage Mana. Whenever Haka destroys a target, you may put that card beneath this card, destroy all cards beneath this card. Haka deals 1 target, X toxic damage, or X is the number of cards destroyed this way, times 2. I really like this card, however. Omnitron has a way of messing with Haka's ongoing card, so that's unfortunate. And then Ra's going to draw another summon staff, so clearly we're going to be able to summon some staffs, so I don't mind that. Let's do a power now with Legacy. Legacy is going to give all other hero targets the ability to deal +1 damage. So I'll just use this as a way to track as I go from left to right among the rest of the heroes. At the end of Legacy's turn, he draws a card. He gets the Heroic Interception. Ongoing, when this card enters play, Legacy deals himself 3 melee damage. Hero targets other than Legacy are immune to damage. At the start of your turn, destroy this card. That could definitely come in handy. Ka's going to play his Taha. Again, sorry for butchering that. He's going to deal 2 targets, 3 melee damage each. However, it's +1 because of Legacy. So he's dealing 4 damage. However, it's -1, so it's only 3 damage. So 3 damage to that dude, 3 damage to Omnitron himself, because those are my 2 targets. So I played that card, I used that power, and now we're going to draw a card. Enduring Intercession. Redirect any damage that will be dealt to a hero target by an environment card to Haka. We're going to go to Ra's turn. Ra is going to play Summon Staff. He can search his deck for the Staff of Ra. Here we go. Shuffle your deck. Now, when that card enters play, Ra regains 3 hit points. So I'm not going to want to play that just now, but I will want to play it in a bit for sure. So this was a one-shot. The card itself says I can draw a card. So I'm going to draw another card. We get Inferno. Ra deals 1 target, 3 fire damage. Ra deals up to 5 other targets, 1 fire damage each. That could come in handy. And then I can play another card. I'm going to play the Living Conflagration. When this card enters play, Ra deals 1 target, 2 fire damage. Well, it becomes 3 fire damage thanks to Legacy. So I'm going to do 2 damage to Omnitron. So get up to 5 damage up there. Move this over because we have to flip this so much. I'm actually going to keep the health for Omnitron off to the side, just like that. And then Ra has a power. He's going to deal 1 target, 2 fire damage. It becomes 3 fire damage. -1 becomes 2 fire damage. And that's going to be enough to kill this drone. So yeah, I just did 2 fire damage to Omnitron as well with that, because there's 2 +1, -1 because of the character card. So the drone is defeated, which is nice. So since Ra's turn is over, at the beginning of Legacy's next turn, this +1 damage is going to go away. So we'll just take that away now. And the end of Ra's turn, he's going to draw another card. He draws the Blazing Tornado. This is an ongoing limited card. Ra deals 1 target, 3 fire damage. So another power from me. Lots of damage capabilities with these 3 heroes, and that's going to be really necessary, both with his enemy as well as with the various cards in the Ruins of Atlantis environment deck. So there are no start of turn effects. There are no cards in play for the environment deck yet. So we have to play a card. Ugh. Right off the bat, we get the Phosphorescent Chamber. Increase all damage dealt by 1. Increase all hit point recovery by 1. At the end of the environment turn, each player must discard a card. At the start of the environment turn, each player may discard a card to destroy this card. So we get to the end of the environment turn. Let me put a +1 marker in play to remind me of this effect. And at the end of the environment turn, which is now, we all have to discard a card. I'm going to discard Heroic Interception from Legacy. I'm going to discard Enduring Intercession from Haka. If you notice, I don't really like the intercession strategy all that much. I think they create more problems than they solve. And I'm going to discard one of these Flesh of the Sun Gods. Don't think that's going to be that helpful either. Now we're going to go to Omnitron's turn. Well, Omnitron's going to flip his cards because the Rampaging robot side says the same thing as the self-aware robotics factory side. And at the start of the villain turn, flip Omnitron's villain character cards. It only flips once a turn. So we flip this. Great. Now, what does the rest of this side say? since we didn't read it last time. At the end of the villain turn, shuffle the villain trash and reveal cards from the top until one drone or component is revealed. Put it into play. Put the other revealed cards back in the trash. When Omnitron is destroyed, remove Omnitron's villain character cards from play. The heroes cannot win until there are no devices in play. And then advanced, increase damage dealt by devices by 1. That sounds fun. So instead of the -1 damage taken that was out when Omnitron is on the other side, we get the +1 damage dealt. Remember, Omnitron himself is a device. Plus, we have the +1 damage from the phosphorescent chamber. No start of turn effects other than the flipping, which we've already done. We're going to play a card. It is the S84 Automaton Drone. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest hit points X energy damage, which X is the current hit points of this card. The card comes out starting with 3 hit points. Now, mind you, it's going to be doing 3 damage +1 because we're on this side of Omnitron, +1 because of the phosphorescent chamber. None of that is great. So 5 damage coming out, and it's going to be more because at the end of the turn, we have to flip cards over until we get a device or a component. That is not a device or a component. That goes out. So we now carry out the rest of the end of turn effects. This S94 Automaton Drone is going to deal 5 damage to the hero with the highest hit points. We have 34 -2 here, so 32 hit points on Haka, 32 hit points on Legacy, 30 hit points on Ra. I'll give this 5 damage to Haka. And now we go to the Assault Drone. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest hit points X melee damage, where X is the number of drones in play +1. There are 2 drones in play +1, +1, +1. So it's 5 damage. And I'm going to have to give this to Legacy. And Ra's like, I'm the one who can heal 3. What's happening? Yeah, exactly. We're going to get +1 damage to our advantage now because that phosphorescent chamber is going to apply to our powers. So in the start of Legacy's turn, there are no start of turn effects. Legacy is going to put out the Motivational Charge. Legacy is now going to do 1 target, 2 melee damage plus the 1. Remember, since we're on this side of Omnitron, it's not -1 damage taken, so we don't have to do that math this turn. This drone only has 3 health. This drone only has 4 health. They're both going to be killed by Haka, so I'm not actually that worried about them. So we're going to go ahead with Legacy and we're going to do 3 damage to Omnitron, and then all heroes can regain 1 hit point. And actually that becomes regain 2 hit points because Phosphorescent Chamber, remember, all hit point recovery is increased by 1. So that's really nice. So Haka gets 2 health back, as does Legacy himself. Rob would get 2 hit points back as well, but dude hasn't been touched yet because, you know, you don't mess with the Sun God if you can help it. Omnitron's not an idiot, even though he's a robot. Now, Legacy's going to draw 1 card at the end of its turn. It gets a takedown. Ongoing villain cards cannot be played. At the end of your turn, the villain target with the highest hit points deal Legacy 2 energy damage. At the start of your turn, destroy this card. Not a bad card to have. I have not seen that one yet, I do not think. So, very cool. We're now going to go to Haka's turn. Haka is going to play Savage Mana and put that out. What's Savage Mana? Well, ongoing. Whenever Haka destroys a card, you may put that card beneath this card. Destroy all cards beneath this card. Haka deals 1 target X toxic damage, where X is the number of cards destroyed this way times 2. So Haka is now going to deal up to 2 targets, 3 damage each. It becomes 4 damage. That's going to be enough to wipe out both of these guys. So they are both going to go underneath the Savage Mana card. And I do not want to leave it there for very long. Remember, because as I've said already, Omnitron has a way to make ongoing cards go away, and that would be really unfortunate. So I played my card, I did my power, and now I can draw a card, and that's going to be the end of Haka's turn. This card is a 1-shot, draw 2 cards, and discard 1 or more cards, reduce the next damage dealt to Haka by 2 for each card discarded this way. It is the Haka of shielding. Very cool. We go to Ra's turn. Ra is like, I still haven't taken damage, guys. I think you're playing wrong. And that's fine. He can think that. We're going to go ahead and play the Blazing Tornado. And Haka is going to do this ability on the Blazing Tornado. He's going to deal 1 target, 3 fire damage. It becomes 4 fire damage because Phosphorescent Chamber is in play. And I'm going to deal that damage to Omnitron. So I'm taking away 6 and I'm putting a 10. So Omnitron is up to 12 damage already. And then we're going to draw a card for Ra. It is Excavation, 1-shot, put up to 3 cards from the environment trash on the bottom of the environment deck. You may draw as many cards as you move this way. That could be pretty fun to do as well. Although cards in the environment trash are usually ones you probably don't want to put back in. So we'll see what cards end up coming out if we want to try to shuffle some of the better cards, in quotes, back into the deck. So we go to the beginning of the environment turn. At the start of the environment turn, we're all going to discard one card to destroy this card. It generally creates more problems than it solves. So I will go ahead and discard 3 cards. Because remember, if we keep it out, we're still going to have to discard a card anyway at the end of this turn, and we're going to just run out of cards too quickly that way. So I don't love that. I'm going to discard Lead from the front. I'm going to discard Haka of Shielding, and I'm going to discard the other Flesh of the Sun God, and that's going to allow me to destroy this environment card. Now we draw a card during the environment turn. It's Toxic Seaweed. Whenever a hero uses a power, deal that hero 2 toxic damage. It is again number of heroes -1. At the end of the environment turn, one player may discard their hand to destroy this card. Yikes. I hate that. I like all their hands a lot. I do like Legacy's at least. So at the end of the environment turn, I'm going to discard all of Legacy's hand to make that just go away. Thank you, Legacy, for taking the hit for the team. You are a champion among even your own family. That's how that's going to work. So we go to Omnitron's turn. Omnitron is going to do what he does at the beginning of his turn. He flips these over. So it's turn 3. Again, on odd turns, we're going to be on the Rampage robot side. On even turns, we will be on the self-aware robotics factory side. And we're going to go ahead and carry out this turn. So that was the start of turn effects. There are no other cards in play with start of turn effects. And so now we're going to draw a card. It is the S-85 repair drone. At the end of the villain turn, Omnitron gains X HP, where X is the number of drones in play +1. Remember, that would have been another +1 had the phosphorescent chamber still been in place. We're glad that's out. And then end of turn effects, we're going to play the top card of the villain deck. It is the S-83 assault drone. Oh my gosh. Well, more cards I can put under Haka. So I really kind of like how this is setting up. So we'll see if this works out. Omnitron is on the reduced damage dealt to devices by 1. So I'm going to put that there. The +1 will go off to the side. At the end of the villain turn, Omnitron regains X HP, where X is the number of drones in play +1. So there are 2 drones in play +1. So it's gaining 3 health back. I'm going to take this 10 off, and I'm going to put 7 hit points back over there. So we are at 9 total. And then the S-83 assault drone, at the end of this villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest hit points X melee damage, where X is the number of drones in play +1. It's only dealing 3 this time. We don't have the other 2 +1s that were in play on the last turn. And the most hit points is going to be Ra finally. So Ra is going to take 3 damage. We have a way to heal it though, kids. Never fear. This +1 damage can come out of play because we did get rid of the phosphorescent chamber. And now we're going to go to Legacy's turn. Legacy has no cards to play because it had this card in the entire hand to get rid of that toxic seaweed. And oh boy, was that seaweed ever toxic. So Legacy is not going to play a card. Legacy is going to do its power here, where it's going to give the other heroes +1 damage to their powers. Nice. Haka is going to go. Haka is going to play Vitality Surge, is going to regain 2 hit points. So we're up to 3. And it's going to draw a card. Haka draws Punish the Weak. Whenever Haka would damage the non-hero target with the lowest hit points, increase that damage by 1. Whenever Haka would damage any other target, reduce the damage by 1. That's not great against Omnitron. I mean, dude has 100 hit points. We do not want to be making that harder. And now Haka is going to deal 2 targets, 3 melee damage each. It's actually going to be 4 damage each. So 3 damage to this dude, 3 damage to this wound. Again, it's -1 damage because of Omnitron. So unfortunately wasn't able to add any cards underneath the Savage Mana, but that's fine. And then we're going to draw a card. It is Mirror. Haka deals 1 target 2 melee damage, draw a card. It's another equipment card that just gives me some more abilities to get some more cards in my hand, so I don't hate that. And now this +1 is going to transfer over to Ra. What's Ra going to do? Ra is going to put the Staff of Ra into play. It's about time. The Sun God has his staff. That's important. He's going to heal 3 when that enters play, increase damage dealt by Ra by 1. So he's got a +1 that's just going to stay with him as long as the Staff of Ra is in play. And now he is going to deal 1 target 2 fire damage. It becomes 3 fire damage. It becomes 4 fire damage. I think it's best to get rid of this assault drone, even though Omnitron is going to heal again. I think minimizing damage is going to be super important. So we're going to kill this assault drone. this card is out. And actually, we'll do the power on the Living Conflagration. So it'll be 3 damage, and Ra can draw a card at the end of that power as well. So we get the Scorched Earth. Ra deals each non-hero target X fire damage, or X is the number of environment cards in play. Could come in handy, usually not. I find that we want to kill the Atlantis cards as quickly as they come out, but they might end up with a bit of a backup. And then because that card draw was because of this power, we're going to go ahead and draw a card like normal at the end of the turn. We get another summon staff. We go to the environment turn. There are no environment cards in play, so no at the start of turn effects. We draw a card. It is a leaking room. Players cannot play hero cards. Increase all lightning damage by 2. At the start of the environment turn, destroy this card. So that's just going to prevent us from playing cards. So I have you cannot play cards. Reminder, I'll put that over here. Yikes. I did realize that I never drew a card for Legacy last turn. We have another motivational charge. So I'm just going to correct that now. It's like, why does he have no cards? He should have at least one. Yes, he should. So we go to the villain turn. So the -1 damage taken goes away. We're going to flip these cards again. And now we're back to a +1 damage dealt. Another reason I wanted to get rid of the assault drone instead of the repair drone. We're now going to go to the normal draw phase. It is a disintegration ray. At the start of the villain turn, Omnitron deals 3 +1 energy damage to the hero target with the highest hit points. We can destroy this card when Omnitron has dealt 7 or more damage in 1 round. Remember, this is in the middle of the turn, so this is the play phase, so we don't have to worry about the start of turn thing. But if this is still in play at the beginning of next turn, we're going to have a problem. And now we do the end of turn effects. We're going to shuffle the villain cards and reveal cards from the deck until a drone or component card is revealed. It's not a drone or component. Oh, the assault drone keeps coming back. What a jerk. So he's actually going to do damage anyway. So much for everything I just said. And that's fine. So rest of the end of turn effects, end of the turn, Omnitron is going to regain X health, where X is the number of drones +1. He's going to heal 3. So he's back to 6. At the end of this turn, this drone is going to deal the hero target with the highest hit points, X melee damage, number of drones +1. So 3, and then 4 because we are on the self-aware robotics factory side of the card. And that's going to be a total of 4 damage. The most hit points is Haka. Yeah, because Haka has 31 hit points. Legacy has 29 and Ra has 30. So 4 damage to Haka. So taking out a 1 and adding a 5. All right. We cannot play cards, which is super annoying. So since I can't play a card, I'm just going to do this stat. Now we're kind of stuck where we have to get 7 damage on Omnitron. So this goes away. So that's important for me. So I'm going to deal 1 target, 2 melee damage. And it's not reduced because we are on the +1 damage side, not the -1 damage taken side. So that's 2 damage to Omnitron. We need to get 5 more in order to discard that card. So I'm going to put a little counter here. And each hero target regains 1 hit point. We're going to draw a card. The Surge of Strength, increased damage dealt by Legacy by 1. That's an ongoing card. We're now going to Haka's turn. Again, cannot play cards. I'm going to deal to 2 targets 3 melee damage. Haka's going to do 3 damage to Omnitron. That gets Omnitron back up to 11. And that's 5 damage dealt. And Haka's going to deal 3 damage to the repair drone. So this goes under the Savage Mana card. Haka is going to draw a card. It is the Haka of Shielding again. And now we go to Ra's turn. Cannot play cards. Ra is going to deal 1 target, 1 fire damage, and then it can draw a card. So it's going to deal 2 damage because it's +1 because of the Staff of Ra. And that's going to be 7 damage to Omnitron. Since 7 damage is on the Omnitron, the disintegration ray is going to be discarded. Ra can draw a card because of the power and draw another card because it is the end of the turn. So we get the Fire Blast. Ra can deal 1 target, 5 fire damage. And then we get the Blazing Tornado. Ra deals 1 target, 3 fire damage. Again, we already have one of those in play. So a bunch of summon stats. We got a lot going on with Ra over here. We go to the environment turn. At the start of the environment turn, this is destroyed. We draw a card. It's another leaking room. Ugh. Cannot play cards again. Very frustrating. So we go to Omnitron's turn. These flip we're back on the rampaging robot side. We're back to -1 damage taken by devices. We are going to play a card. It is terraforming, destroy all environment cards. Don't mind that. We have to play as many villain cards as environment cards destroyed. It was just one, so we play another card. It is the adaptive plating subroutine. After Omnitron is dealt damage, Omnitron becomes immune to that type of damage. Whatever Omnitron is dealt a different type of damage, Omnitron's damage immunity changes to that type. And now we have the end of turn effects. We play another card. It is the electromagnetic railgun. Ongoing at the start of the villain turn, Omnitron deals 2 hero targets damage. Again, we need to have 7 to get rid of that. It's going to be a little bit harder though, because again, -1 damage taken this turn. The assault drone is going to do how much damage? It's going to do only 2 because there's only 1 drone in play, and we don't have to worry about another +1. So it's doing 2 damage to the hero with the highest hit points. That hero is either Legacy or Ra. I'll give this 2 damage to Legacy. So Legacy has 28 hit points. There are no other end of turn effects other than that drone. So now we can move forward. Still cannot play cards. So annoying. Legacy is going to do this. He's going to increase the amount of damage done by other heroes by 1. Because I think I can get up to 7 that way, even with the minus, maybe. Ugh. Remember, we have to worry about the shifting damage type now because of the adaptive plating. I find it an interesting mechanic. I do find it rather annoying, but we should be able to make this work. Oh, I can play cards now. I forgot about I can play cards now. So that actually helped us. Terraforming, getting rid of the leaking room is nice. So Legacy is going to play Surge of Strength. Increased damage dealt by Legacy by 1. And now Legacy is going to do this power where it's going to do 2 melee damage. It actually becomes 3 melee damage. And then it goes down to 1 damage because we are on the rampaging robot side. So it's going to do 2 damage to Omnitron. That gets us up to 15. And then this counter is at a 2. So we just did what kind of damage? We did melee damage. So the next time we damage Omnitron himself, we actually have to do a different kind of damage because of the adaptive plating. And then every hero can heal 1. Legacy heals 1. Haka heals 1. And then Legacy is going to draw a card. It is lead from the front. Again, whenever a hero target will be dealt damage by a villain card, you may redirect that damage to Legacy. Haka's turn, he's going to take care of the Savage Mana now. So he's going to do the number of cards destroyed times 2. So that's 6. So he's doing 6 damage to Omnitron. It becomes 5, but that's going to couple with the 2 that Legacy did. So that's going to be 7, which is enough to destroy this card. So this is out. I forgot to do a play a card phase. So I would do Elbow Smash. So that'd be 3 damage. It becomes 2 damage, which I'm going to do to the Assault Drone. Let me review this because it got confusing and that's my fault. So I played the Elbow Smash in the play a card phase. I did 2 damage to the drone instead of 3 because of the -1 damage taken. That was done. Then for my power, I destroyed the 3 cards beneath there. It became 6 damage to Omnitron, reduced to 5. That 7 damage is enough to destroy the electromagnetic railgun. This does not get destroyed when you do that power. And now in the draw phase, I get to draw 1 card. I get the Rampage. Now note, the way I understand it, even though the electromagnetic railgun was destroyed during Haka's turn, since this is more of an indirect destruction because of the card itself, Haka does not get credit for destroying it, such that it would actually go under Savage Mana. I tried to find an official clarification on that and did not see one, but that's what makes the most sense to me. If someone knows something different, please put that in the comment section below. Now, Rampage, this card is pretty cool. Haka deals each non-hero target 5 melee damage and each hero target 2 melee damage. A little bit of a self-injury situation going on there, but it's very worth it with that much damage. I'm going to play a summon staff. I do want to get another staff in my possession because I do not have one. Where is the staff of Ra? So we have another summon staff. I can draw a card. And then I can play a card again. So we're going to draw another card. It is the Drawn to the Flame. Ongoing, Ra deals each non-hero target X fire damage, or X is the number of villain ongoing cards in play. That could be interesting. Ra is going to now play a card. It's going to play the Excavation. It's going to put up the 3 cards in the environment trash to the bottom of the environment deck. And then I may draw as many cards as I move this way. So we're going to draw Fire Blast as a second Fire Blast. We're going to draw the Flame Barrier. The first time Ra is dealt damage by a target each turn, Ra deals that target 2 fire damage. And we're going to draw the Imbued Fire. Increase all fire damage by 1. Change the damage type of damage dealt by hero targets to fire. Destroy this card. That's problematic because if all heroes doing fire damage, that's really gonna be limiting because of the adaptive plating subroutine. Remember, the last damage done to Omnitron was toxic damage because of Savage Mana. So that is done. So I played my cards. I am now going to do a power. I'm going to deal one target 2 damage. It becomes 3 damage, goes back to 2 damage, but it's enough to destroy the assault drone. And again, doing damage to the assault drone doesn't matter. What matters for the plating is what damage you actually do to Omnitron. Now I do a draw phase. I'm going to get another imbued fire. We now go to the environment turn. So no start of turn effects. We play an environment card. It is mystical defenses. At the end of the environment turn, this card deals each non-environment target 2 energy damage. That's going to become 1 damage to Omnitron because it's still -1 damage taken. It becomes 2 damage to Legacy. So that's going to be 5. Becomes 2 damage to Haka, and it becomes 2 damage to Ra. Notice it did do damage to Omnitron as well, and it has a whopping 15 health, so that is a problem. We are going to need a way to deal with that sooner rather than later. We go to Omnitron's turn. These flip over. There are no start of turn effects. We got rid of all those. We are going to draw a card. It is the S28 Automaton Drone. Again, it has 3 hit points. And then we're going to do the end of the villain turn. We are going to have to switch this out, increase damage dealt by devices by 1. And now we're looking for devices or components. And what do we get? It is a device that will go there. More into turn effects, the end of the villain turn. This card deals the hero target with the highest hit points, X energy damage, where X is the current hit points of this card. Current hit points is 3. So it's going to be 3 damage plus 1, so 4 damage. Highest hit points, Haka has 27, Legacy has 27, Ra has 30. So we're going to do 4 damage to Ra. Now the repair drone, the drone is going to heal Omnitron X, where X is the number of drones in play plus 1. So we're healing Omnitron 3. So this 10 comes out and we put 7. So Omnitron is at 18 damage. We go to Legacy's turn. Legacy can play a card. Legacy does not want to play a card, so he's going to choose not to. Legacy is going to do 3 damage to Omnitron, get him back up over 20, and then everyone can heal 1. So Legacy's going to have 4 health, Ka's going to have 6, Ra's going to have 5. 4 damage done to it, not health. It's the opposite of health, Greg. Legacy's turn is over. He's going to draw a card. It is the Legacy Ring. You may use an additional power during your power phase. Oh, thank you very much. We're going to go to Haka's turn. Haka is going to play a card. It's going to deal 1 target 3 melee damage. The last damage done to Omnitron was melee damage. So I actually can't do damage to Omnitron with my powers here. So we're going to do 3 damage to the mystical defenses. Then we're going to use this to do 3 more damage to the mystical defenses. It gets us up to 6, and we're doing 3 damage the automaton, and that is destroyed. We're going to put that underneath the Savage Mana. Draw phase, we draw a Haka of Restoration, draw 2 cards and discard 1 or more. Haka regains hit points equal to the number of cards discarded this way. We go to Ra's turn. Ra's still doing +1 damage because of the Staff of Ra, which is great. We're going to do some fire damage to Omnitron. So that's 3 fire damage plus 1 because of the Staff of Ra. So 4 fire damage to Omnitron gets Omnitron up to 25. And then I can do +1 damage to 5 other targets. So it's going to become 2 damage to 5 other targets. So 2 damage here and 2 damage to the mystical defenses. That is the play a card phase. And the power phase, Ra's going to deal 3 projectile damage because of the Staff of Ra. It's still +1, so it's 4 projectile damage. We're going to do that to Omnitron. That's going to change the damage type again, which again is important because of the plating. That gets up to 29, and then we destroy this card. So that staff is out, but we have another staff, which means I can heal 3 when I put the next staff in next turn, but it does mean I temporarily lose that +1 damage dealt. We now go to the environment turn. There are no start or turn effects. The environment's going to play a card. It is, the phosphorescent chamber. +1 damage all around again, kids. That's rough. And the healing is also +1. So end of the environment turn, we're going to do this. Each target gets 2 energy damage. Well, it's now 3. Even that damage would trigger the plating. So we had to keep a track of that. So we're doing 3 damage to Omnitron. So it's up to 32. We are doing 3 damage to this drone. So this one's defeated. We're doing 3 damage to Legacy, up to 7, 3 damage to Haka, up to 9, and 3 damage to Ra, up to 8. The end of the turn, all heroes need to discard a card. We're going to discard the lead from the front. We're going to discard the Haka of shielding, and we're going to discard one of the imbued fires. We now go to the villain turn. These flip. So this +1 damage dealt is replaced by -1 damage taken. And this has no start or turn effects. We don't have to worry about that. We're going to do the play phase. So we play a card. It is the S-83 Assault Drone. So that's a thing. And then at the end of the turn, we play another card. It is the Electromagnetic Railgun. This has a start of the turn effect. This is also going to go away when we do 7 damage to Omnitron. End of turn effects. We've already done Omnitrons. We do the Assault Drone. At the end of this turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest hit points, X melee damage, where X is the number of drones +1. So it is actually just 2, but it's 3 because we now have the phosphorescent chamber in play. So we're doing 3 damage, highest hit points. We have 22 hit points with Ra. We have 25 hit points with Haka, and we have 25 hit points with Legacy. I will go ahead and hit Haka with these 3 hit points. So Haka is up to 12 damage. Villain turn is over. We're going to go to Legacy turn. Legacy is going to play a card. It's playing the Legacy Ring. You may use an additional power during your power phase. I'm going to do 2 powers. One, I'm going to trigger this first, so Galvanize until the start of your next turn. Increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. I am also a hero target. And Legacy's already doing +1 because of the Surge of Strength. So he's doing +2 this turn from his own stuff. And then don't forget, the Phosphorescent Chamber is in play. So that's +1 as well. And then we have the +1 on the healing to go along with it. +1, +1, +1. So we're going to do the second power. We're doing the Motivational Charge. So it's going to be 5 melee damage. We are going to try to get 7 on Omnitron before I start worrying about the rest of this stuff. With that 5 melee damage, it goes down to 4 to Omnitron. We're going to take off 6, add a 10. And then because we did that, each hero can heal 1. It becomes heal 2 because of the Phosphorescent Chamber. This is going to move along. This is going to move along to Haka. And then we do a draw phase. We're going to draw. It is next evolution. Legacy is immune to the damage type of your choice until the start of your next turn. We are now going to Haka. So again, the last damage done to Omnitron was melee damage. So that's a little bit of a problem, which means I can't actually do melee damage to Omnitron now. But as long as Ra does 3 more damage to Omnitron himself, we're totally good. So what's Haka going to do? So Haka is going to play Haka of Restoration. He's going to draw 2 cards. We get Enduring Intercession, and we get the Haka of Battle. And then Haka is going to discard 2 cards, and he's going to regain 2 health. It actually becomes 3 because of the Phosphorescent Chamber. Haka's going to do this power on this equipment. He's going to deal 2 targets 3 melee damage. It actually becomes 4 because of Legacy, 5 because of the Phosphorescent Chamber. So 5 damage to the Assault Drone becomes 4, but the Assault Drone is defeated, and it will go under Savage Manner. And then we'll do a full 5 damage to the Mystical Defenses. So that gets up to 10 damage here. And then the Ka will draw a card. What does it get? It gets the Ground Pound. When this card enters play, discard 2 cards or destroy this card. Non-hero cards cannot deal damage. At the start of your turn, destroy this card. That can be very, very nice. I like having that there. We have this moving over to Ra. Again, we can't do melee damage to Omnitron, but we can do other kinds of damage. Ra is going to play the Staff of Ra. When it enters play, it heals 3. Well, it actually heals 4. And now Ra is going to have +1 damage again because of the Staff of Ra. So it has a +3 total, 1 from Legacy, 1 because of the environment, 1 because of the Staff of Ra. Ra is going to deal 3 fire damage to 1 target. It's going to deal at the Omnitron. It actually becomes 6 fire damage. So it's just going to be 5 because it's -1 damage taken. That's enough to wipe out the Electromagnetic Railgun. That is our power phase. And now we can draw a card. We draw another Staff of Ra. We get to the environment turn. At the start, we can all discard 1 card to destroy this card. We will go ahead and do that. Fire damage is no good here. So that's going to go away. Discard that. And I'll discard this, and that makes this go away. So this +1 damage is out. This +1 damage is out too, because Legacy's effect is going to expire at the beginning of his next turn. We now play a card from the environment deck. It is the Kraken. Ooh, that's not great. The Kraken says at the end of the environment turn, this card deals the non-environment target with the lowest hit points 5 melee damage. So that could be rough. But again, if we have like a drone in play, this is where you might want to manipulate things, leave that drone alive. They have a low amount of hit points, and then the Kraken will just wipe it out. So mystical defenses, at the end of the environment turn, this card deals each non-environment target 2 energy damage. So that's 1 energy damage to Omnitron, 2 energy damage to Legacy, 2 energy damage to Haka, and 2 energy damage to Ra. At the end of the turn, the target with the least hit points at this point, Ra's 26 hit points left, Haka has 25 hit points left, and Legacy has 25 hit points left. We'll go ahead and we'll do this damage to Haka. So he's got 14 points of damage on him. And now we go to Omnitron's turn. So Omnitron flips his cards over to start of the turn effect. We're going to play a card in the play phase. It is the S80 for Automaton Drone. And now we have to take these out, shuffle the trash. Notice we are always shuffling the trash this year, just basically regurgitating things. You're never going to shuffle the trash back into the deck. Before I forget, I'm going to sub the -1 damage taken with the +1 damage dealt. And we're going to discard cards. It is a drone, so that will come into play. Now remember, the Kraken will wipe out one of those that is surviving. So it'll make some sense to kind of leave them both. So then the Kraken will do what we wanted to do there. I'll probably kill another one with a Ka, and then again, try to use that before Omnitron makes me lose all ability to do that in the future. So we did the end of turn effect on the Omnitron card. End of turn effect, this card deals the hero target with the highest hit points X energy damage. So it's the current hit points +1 because of that. So 4 energy damage, the highest hit points. That is going to be Ra. So Ra now has 8 damage on it. And at the end of this turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest hit points X melee damage, or X is the number of drones in play +1. So that's 2 +1 +1. So 4 damage, 2 highest hit points. That will now be Legacy. So Legacy will have 11 hit points on it. We're all getting banged up a little bit here. Legacy's going to go. Legacy's not going to play a card. It is going to do 2 powers. First, it is going to increase the damage of a hero targets by 1. And then it's going to target Omnitron with melee damage. So it's going to do 2 melee damage, 3 for that, 4 for that. So 4 melee damage to Omnitron, taking away 6, adding a 10. Each hero can regain a health. And then Legacy is going to draw a card. It is Fortitude, reduce damage dealt to Legacy by 1, ongoing limited. This +1 is going to move over. Haka is not going to play a card. One of these times we're going to need to not attack with Legacy because that melee damage is really preventing me from playing Rampage. But Haka is going to do 4 damage to 2 targets. It's going to wipe out the drone. This goes here. And then it's going to do 4 damage to the mystical defenses. So that's destroyed. This will also go here. So that toxic damage can be huge if it manages to survive. So we have 4 cards under there now. And then in the draw phase, I'm going to draw Punish the Weak. Moving on to Ra's turn. Ra is going to summon another staff and then draw another card. So the summon staff card really, really strong. Draw a card. It is Inferno. And then Ra is going to do 5, 6, 7 fire damage to Omnitron with the Fire Blast. And then it's going to destroy the staff of Ra. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 damage in its projectile damage. And we're going to do that to Omnitron as well. Omnitron is up to 58 damage. And that card has to be destroyed now. But I got the other staff of Ra out, which is fine. And now Ra is going to draw a card. It is Excavation. We've been there before. So this can go away because Legacy's ability to give us +1 damage isn't really going to matter anymore. We're going to now go to the environment turn. There is no beginning of turn effects. We draw a card. It is the Pillars of Hercules. This is a really wild card. Players may play an additional card and use an additional power and draw an additional card on their turns. At the start of every turn, play the top card of the villain deck. At the start of their turn, a player may skip the rest of their turn to destroy this card. We'll probably do that for sure. End of turn effects, we are going to have the Kraken. He's going to deal 5 damage to the lowest hit points non-environment card, and that's going to be this drone. So that is destroyed. We're now going to go to Omnitron's turn. Omnitron's going to flip its cards like it normally does. In the play phase, it's going to play a card. It is Interpolation Beam. Each time a player draws a card, Omnitron deals that hero 1 energy damage. Destroy this card when Omnitron is dealt 7 or more damage in a round. So we'll get a counter for that. By the way, reducing damage by 1. And then end of turn effects. This flips. What is it? All right, here we go. The Electro Pulse Explosive. At the start of the villain turn, this card deals each hero target X lightning damage, where X is the current hit points of this card. Nasty, 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 and more nasty. Oh, and by the way, because of the Pillars of Hercules, that card should have been drawn at the beginning of this turn before Omnitron even flipped. This card was a normal card drawn, and then we have to draw another card because the end of turn phase. So that's fine. Fortunately, this wasn't drawn first. If it was drawn first, it still would have been the start of the turn. So we would have had to done that immediately. That would have been awful. So then this comes out. Oh, that's the one. That is the one. I didn't want to see that. That's so bad. All right. Omnitron deals each hero target 4 damage because it's heroes +1. Fortunately, we're on the -1 damage being dealt to as opposed to +1 damage being dealt from. 4 damage over here. I'm going to take out 6 and put a 10. 4 damage over here, taking out 6 and putting a 10. All ongoing cards are defeated. It's definitely made as a hard counter to Haka, and I was totally going to do that this turn. So that's really unfortunate. So all these ongoing cards are out, except this equipment card can stay. This ongoing card is out, but that equipment card can stay. These go back to their respective decks. And this will go here. And then all ongoing cards are out. These are both out. And that's super unfortunate. All right. At the beginning of Legacy's turn, this was in play. We have to draw another villain card. We just got this, which is, I guess, fine. So 4 more damage. So we're up to 18 with Legacy, we're up to 21 with Haka, and we're up to 15 with Ra. This +1 and this +1 are both out because those ongoing cards were taken out of the game. So I guess if we're going to get both of them, I don't know if there's a third one, but they're pretty nasty. This is also pretty nasty. We are going to skip the rest of Legacy's turn at the start of turn effect to be able to destroy this card. So we don't do anything. We just skip the rest of his turn. Pillars of Hercules goes out. It's such a game changer. We literally just pulled 4 friggin' Omnitron cards in a row. That was really unfortunate. Haka's going to go. So Haka's going to do 5 melee damage to each non-hero target. So that's going to be 5 damage to Omnitron. So we're up to 5 for this counter. And again, this is melee damage. 5 damage to the explosive. 5 damage to the Kraken, and it's going to be 2 damage to each hero target. So we're taking out 8, putting a 10 on Legacy, putting 2 more to Haka, and it's going to be 2 more to Ra. That's done. Now Haka's ability, it's still doing melee damage, so I can't attack Omnitron again, but I can do 3 damage to the explosive and 3 damage to Kraken. And now we draw a card. It is Tomoko, reduce damage of the Haka by 1. Ra's turn. Ra is going to play this Fire Blast and do 5 fire damage to Omnitron. Omnitron is up to 68 damage, and that's 7 damage to Omnitron. So that's out. Ra can't do fire damage to Omnitron. Is going to do 2 fire damage to the explosive. Now, the explosive is a device, but it is not a drone, and it is not a component. So the good thing is it won't actually come back in, even with this ability, which is really nice because it's really, really a nasty card. So we're up to 10 damage here, and then we're going to draw a card at the end of this turn. It is the Solar Flare. Increase fire damage by 1. At the end of your turn, Ra may deal 4 psychic damage. If he takes no damage this way, this card is destroyed. Could be interesting. We'll see. Now we go to the environment's turn. So that's an end of a turn effect. What is this? It's a Kraken. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Back-to-back Krakens is no bueno. Really not good. So the Kraken's going to go ahead and destroy this. Had I known to be back-to-back, I would not have done what I did with that last 2 damage from Ra. How unfortunate. And then this Kraken to deal 5 damage to the least remaining hit points. So that is 12 for Legacy. That is 11 for Haka. And that is 12 for Ra. So we're going to do 5 damage to Haka up to 28. All right. Omnitron's turn. Yeah, +1 damage dealt. We are going to play a card. It is the Repair Drone. And now we have to shuffle up the trash. We're looking for drones or components. That drone there will be killed by the Kraken. If we get 2 drones, we just never attack them. And the last damage done to Omnitron was indeed fire damage from Ra. So keeping that in mind, that is not a drone or a component. That is a component. It is a start of a villain turn thing. So we just need to do 7 damage to Omnitron, or that will stay in and do some damage to us. At the end of the villain turn, Omnitron regains X HP, where X is the number of drones in play +1, so just 2 healing to Omnitron. Legacy is going to play Motivational Charge. It's going to do its 2 powers, +1 damage dealt by heroes, and it's going to deal 1 target 3 melee damage. We're going to go ahead and deal that to Omnitron. Can't do melee damage to Omnitron next. We're in the draw phase. We're going to draw the lead from the front. It's +1 damage is transferring. We are going to play the Tamoka. Reduced damage done to Haka by 1. We're going to do 4 damage to this Kraken. Kind of gets it up to 12. I'm only going to deal it to 1 unit because I want to make sure this Kraken destroys that drone. And again, I can't do damage to Omnitron because it is melee damage. We are now going to Ra's turn. Ra's going to get a +1 now. Ra's going to deal 1 target for fire damage. So we'll deal that to Omnitron. They got 6, put it at 10. And then up to 5 other targets can take 1 damage each. It becomes 2. So I'm going to do 2 damage to this drone, 2 damage to this Kraken, 2 damage to this Kraken. I did 7 damage total to Omnitron, so this goes away. And then I'm going to do 1 target, 2 fire damage, 3 fire damage. We're going to wipe out this Kraken. And I draw a card. It is Flame Spike. Ra deals 1 target, 1 fire damage. You may use an additional power this turn. So I did forget to draw a card as a Haka, so we have our other staff, which I'm scared to pronounce. Deals 2 targets up to 3 melee damage. Pretty effective turn. I think we're up to 73 damage on Omnitron, so hopefully with the home stretch. Losing the ability to do 8 toxic damage was really, really nasty. It is Atlantis' turn, playing a card. It is the Atlantean Font of Power. At the end of the environment turn, play the top card of the villain deck, play the top card of each hero deck in turn order. If the played card is a limited card already in play, discard that card and play the next card. At the start of the environment turn, destroy this card. End of the environment turn, this card deals the non-environment target with the lowest hit points 5 melee damage. This is out. And now we do this at the end of the environment turn. We're playing the top card of the villain deck. What is it? Disintegrating Ray. Oh, that's bad. We're about to take some damage. And then we play the player cards in turn order. What do we get? Each player draws a card. So Legacy is going to draw Heroic Intercession. Haka draws the Elbow Smash. And the Mighty Ra draws the Flame Barrier. First time Ra is dealt damage by a target each turn. Ra deals target 2 damage. And now we have to play Haka's card. This is whenever an environment card is destroyed, you may draw a card. So that's played. And then Ra's card is Ra deals 1 target, 1 fire damage. You may use an additional power this turn. So this turn would be the environment turn. So I'm going to deal 1 target, 1 fire damage. It is still 2 because Legacy's effect is still in play. I can't deal any more damage to Omnitron because I last dealt him fire damage. So we're going to do 2 fire damage to the Kraken. And I can do an additional power. I'm going to deal 3 more fire damage to the Kraken. We're now going to go to Omnitron's turn. So this flips at the start of turn. Now we have another at the start of turn effect. At the start of the villain turn, Omnitron deals 3 + 1 energy damage to the hero with the highest hit points. 12 hit points here. We have 13 hit points left for Ra. We have definitely less than that for Haka. So I'm dealing 4 damage to Ra. So Ra's up to 21. And now we are going to go to the play phase. We draw a card. It is Technological Singularity. Oh, man, this is gross. Destroy all equipment cards and deal 2 lightning damage for each equipment card belonging to that hero destroyed this way. So unfortunately, we're reduced damage taken as opposed to adding damage. So it's 2 damage to Legacy. We are losing this staff. So it's 2 damage to Haka. So he's up to 30. And we have no equipment cards in play for Ra. So that was kind of fortuitous. And now at the end of this villain turn, we actually play another card. It is the Adaptive Plating. So welcome to the club, sir. We are already very adaptively plating. That does not stack. I don't see a way that could, but if someone knows something different, let me know. The Kraken will do 5 damage to us, and it would actually kill Haka. So that's a problem. So we are going to want to go ahead and find a way to destroy that. I lost my ring, so I don't have 2 powers again, which is super unfortunate. So I'm going to play Fortitude, reduce damage to Legacy by 1. The last damage done to Omnitron was fire damage. So Legacy is going to just do this, give +1 damage abilities to Haka. Haka is going to play Ground Pound. It's going to discard 2 cards. When Haka got 2 damage, Teimoko should have made it -1. So let me these out. So Haka would have only taken 1 and not 2. Haka's going to do Ground Pound, and non-hero cards to not deal damage. And then for its power, it's going to deal 1 target 3 melee damage. We're going to deal that to Omnitron. It becomes 2 melee damage. So we're up to 75 damage over here. This is going to go over to Ra. This should come out. Ra is going to play the Staff of Ra and is going to heal 3. And then is going to deal using the Pyre power here. It gets +1 damage dealt. So it's going to do 4 fire damage to Omnitron. 4 becomes 3. Fire damage was the last damage done to Omnitron. And it's up to 78 damage, only 22 health left. Draw a card. I also forgot to draw a card for Legacy. Legacy deals 1 target 4 melee damage. Well, that could be really useful. The problem is the melee and the plating for Omnitron is making this a huge puzzle and a lot harder than I think it would have been otherwise. This goes away. The start of the environment turn, that gets destroyed. When an environment card is destroyed, I can draw a card as a Haka. So the Haka of Battle, that could add up to some niceness. We're going to play a card on the environment turn. It is the Mystical Defenses. At the end of the environment turn, this card deals non-environment targets 2 energy damage. But remember, at Ground Pound, non-hero cards do not deal damage. And that's to Omnitron, that's to us, that's to everybody. So none of these end of turn effects are going to matter because of Ground Pound. Happy I played that. And remember, the villain cards are also not going to be able to deal damage because of Ground Pound, because they are non-hero cards. So we go to Omnitron's turn. These flip. We draw a card. It is terraforming. Destroy all environment cards. When environment cards are destroyed, you may draw a card. So Haka draws 2, is another Dominion, and it is the Haka of Shielding. Play as many villain cards as were destroyed by this card. So we're going to get 1. It is the Electro Pulse Explosive, and we get another one. It is the Repair Drone. This start of turn effect, again, wouldn't have done anything. We go to the end of turn effects. Remember, there can be no damage being done by these cards because of Ground Pound, but I still go through this discard pile. If we're going to win, there can be no devices in play. So we've got some problems, kids. That is a one-shot. Nope. Drone or a component, not a device. I almost had a heart attack there, but we got 2 repair drones, which isn't great. And the turn effects, they can't do any damage, but they will heal 1, 2, 3 each. Remember, we are on the increased damage to +1 turn for Omnitron. So we get 6 healing done to Omnitron, 3 each for each of those repair drones. So I'm taking out 26 and I'm going to add 210. So we're back to 72. That device is going to be nasty. We have to do max damage this turn. That Electro Pulse Explosive at the start of the villain turn. This card deals each hero X lightning damage, or X is the current hit points of this card. Yeah, that's not good. That is not good. Hit points is 15. So, right. Kraken would have been useful with these drones, of course. Legacy is going to deal 1 target 4 melee damage. So we're going to do all that to Omnitron. So back up to 76 damage. That played a card. I can now do a power. Legacy is going to give us +1 damage. Ka is going to play Ka of Battle, draw 2 cards. I drew Vitality Surge and Ground Pound. I'm going to discard 2 Dominions, Ka of Shielding, and Elbow Smash to increase the amount of damage I do by 4. It's +1, it's 5. Oh, this goes away. You know what? I'm not going to do that 4 damage to Omnitron with Legacy. That was silly. I knew what I was going to do with Haka here. So I'm going to do 4 damage to this explosive device. Omnitron's going to get health back to 72. So I'm discarding 4 cards. I get the +1 from Legacy. I'll hold on to the Elbow Smash. I'm discarding 4 cards, including the Ground Pound here. And I get the +1 here. So that's 5, 6, 7 damage that I'm doing to the Electro Pulse Explosive. That's up to 11 now. And I draw a card. I did once again forget to draw a card for Legacy. Fortitude. Again, we already have one of those. And now we're going to go to Ra. Ra is going to play Drawn to the Flame. Ra's going to deal each non-hero damage, X fire damage. X equals the number of villain ongoing cards in play. Oh, by the way, right, she already had +1 because of the Staff of Ra. I'm going to take a card back. I will take back Ground Pound just in case. and do one less damage here, because now I'm doing this power. Each non-hero target is going to get 5 fire damage because there's 3 ongoing cards in play, plus 1 because of Staff of Ra, plus 1 because of Legacy. So 5 fire damage to Omnitron. This is out, and both of these are out. This guy unfortunately still stays in play, but I think that was the best use of that turn. We are now up to 77, and we got rid of all the healing for now. This can go away. We draw a card for Ra, the Living Conflagration. When this card is displayed, Ra deals 1 target 2 fire damage. We go to the environment turn, draw a card. It is the Hallway Collapses. When this card enters play, deal each target 3 melee damage. That's nice. So this is the same round. So we do 3 damage to everything because the hallway totally collapsed. So this is melee damage, a different kind of damage. So we're up to 80 damage here. That's enough to get rid of that ray. Everyone else gets 3 damage. So Legacy only takes 2. Ka only takes 2 because of Teimoko. He's up to 31. Ra gets up to 21. At the end of the environment turn, this is destroyed. When an environment card is destroyed, I draw a card. It is another staff. Omnitron's turn. We flip. Remember, the last damage done to Omnitron was melee because of the environment card. So that's not totally great. We do a play card. It is the Interpolation Beam. Every time a player draws a card, Omnitron deals the hero 100 damage. Oh, I have the wrong thing out here. This should be -1 damage taken. And this should be -1 damage taken. So now we have to play the top card of the villain deck as an end of turn effect. Since we're out of cards in the Nemesis deck, I do have to reshuffle this. Trying to see if I can get 20 worth of damage on Omnitron this turn, but he's taking -1 every time. It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be really tight. Remember, the Staff of Ra lets me do projectile damage, which I like. Losing my ring as Legacy was unfortunate. So end of the turn effects. We are gonna have to draw a card. Please don't be one of those. Oh shoot, Haka's dead. Omnitron deals each hero each +1 projectile damage. It's gonna be 4 damage each. So what a bad draw that was. Legacy takes 3 damage. Legacy's up to 27 damage. Haka takes 3 damage, but that is enough to knock him out. We are now on the spirit side of Haka. So one player may play a card now, select the hero, decrease the next damage dealt to the hero by 2, or one player may draw a card now. So again, when a hero is defeated, on the backside of the card, they have 3 options on their turns, but that's definitely unfortunate. The ongoing cards from Legacy are out, so that -1 taken goes away, but it doesn't get destroyed until after the damage is applied. And we are going to do the full 4 damage to Ra, so Ra is up to 25 damage. Remember, every time we draw a card, we have to take damage for that. Ongoing cards are out, so this is out. Legacy has really no way to do damage right now. Legacy is going to play Fortitude, reduce the amount of damage taken by 1. And then Legacy is going to do the power of giving +1 damage dealt to all heroes. The end of the turn, Legacy is going to draw a card. Interpolation Beam should trigger, however, again, -1 damage. And then we have Surge of Strength, increased damage dealt by Legacy to 1. Ka is going to let one player play a card now. Ka is going to let Ra play Solar Flare, increase fire damage by 2. At the end of Ra's turn, it deals a 4 damage or destroy this card. But I think this is going to play out really well. So thank you, Haka. Ra's turn. Ra is going to play Fire Blast. It's doing 5 fire damage to 1 target, plus the 2 because of Solar Flare, plus the 1 from Legacy, plus the 1 from the Staff of Ra. So that's a total damage of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, -1. So 8 damage to Omnitron. So we're up to 88. This is done. And this goes away. And now Ra is going to get rid of the Staff of Ra. It's going to do projectile damage. It's going to do 3 projectile damage. It is 4 because of the Staff of Ra itself before it goes away, and 5 because of Legacy. So 4 damage because it's, again, -1 damage dealt to devices. Omnitron is up to 92 damage on it. I'm not going to deal 4 psychic damage to myself, so this goes away. Now we go to the environment turn. This flips. It is Toxic Seaweed. Yikes. We should have drawn a card. It's another Solar Flare. So whenever a hero uses a power, you have to deal that hero 1 toxic damage, or at the end of this turn, we're just going to discard all of this to destroy this card. Omnitron's turn. These flip. Omnitron is dealing +1 damage instead of the -1 taken. We're going to play a card. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. We do like 4 damage to each hero, 3 damage to Legacy. Legacy is up to 30 and destroys its ongoing card. Ra is up to 29, has 1 health left. This is going to be hairy. We'd have to look through the villain trash. If there was a drone or a component, now we put that component back in play. Pretty much need to get 8 damage done this turn or we're done for. Legacy has no cards to play, so it's just going to give +1 damage to Ra. Legacy's going to draw a card. It is the Back Fist Strike. That would have been useful. Ka's going to allow Ra to play a card. Ra is going to play the Staff of Ra, heals 3 hit points, increase damage by 1. Now it's Ra's turn. Ra's going to play the Flame Spike. Ra's going to deal 1 target 1 fire damage. It becomes 3 fire damage. So we're up to 95. We get an additional power this turn. I'm going to get rid of the Staff of Ra. That does 5 projectile damage. That... Wait. No. Ra would have been destroyed. Ra would have been totally destroyed. It was 3 + 1 + 1 because we're on this side of Omnitron. Yeah, Ra would have died. One hero may use a power now, put an environment card in play in the bottom of the environment deck, destroy an ongoing card. Looking at the game state now, the problem is if I draw a card, I'm dead because Interpolation Beam would give me 2 damage to Legacy and he'd be out. The Legacy's going to choose not to draw any cards on his turn because it would kill him. I'm going to use Haka's ability to say the next damage dealt to Legacy is reduced by 2. And then I'm using Ra's ability to destroy an ongoing card. We're going to destroy that. We go to the environment turn and we're going to get this. It is the Kraken. At the end of the turn, he does 5 damage to Legacy and we lose. Oh, that was so annoying. Wow. Very, very close. Very, very close. I really don't understand how Omnitron is only a level 1 villain. I mean, I've played the level 3 villains and I find Omnitron just super hard. There's just so many ways that he countered you. I mean, we're 8 damage away. I was 1 health away from Haka surviving. I was 1 health away from Ra surviving. If either one of them survive, I do think things play out a bit different. It is what it is. So Omnitron's a fun challenge. There's a lot going on with this game. There's a lot to track. It's really easy to make a bunch of mistakes, especially solo when you're controlling 3 characters. It's almost been better if Legacy had died earlier than Haka, because if Legacy dies, 1 hero may use a power now, 1 hero may draw a card now, reduce damage dealt by environment cards by 2. You see this plating really was affecting the fact that I had Legacy and Haka back to back and they're both doing melee damage. So now I really had to kind of find a way to stagger and just wasn't able to do the maximum damage. I do think the Atlantis makes this super tough. The Kraken, this was the last thing with 15 health. There's 5 of those suckers in there. 15 health is a lot. It's a lot. And the ones giving you ticky-tack damage, the Kraken, if you're not careful, is giving you a huge chunk of damage. We were trying to spread out the damage as much as we could just to have a chance. But we got 8 away. If that +1 damage didn't hit, obviously the advanced rules make this super hard. But if we weren't on the +1 damage side, I would have been able to combo a huge turn with Ra, and I would have been able to pull that off. So very, very close. Cool playthrough. Hope people enjoyed that one. A hard fought battle, but alas, we were not able to pull it off. But our superheroes will rise again, something tells me, because, you know, you need to get that sequel out. If you want to see what's coming up in Solo Playthroughs land, you can go on my Patreon page. I have a schedule that I put out at the end of every month to tell you what's coming up in the month to come. So definitely check that out. Any questions, comments, epiphanies, please put them in the comment section below and I will get back to you. Thank you for all your support of this channel with the watch time, the subscriptions, the likes, and all of it. I really do appreciate all the support I get. I hope everyone's having a great week. And until next time, happy gaming.